Hey, moms. Welcome to the Virtual Six Figure Mom Podcast, a show for moms who want to achieve their definition of success while managing their day-to-day responsibilities and maintaining some sense of sanity along the way. Let's jump into today's episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, mom friends, and welcome to the Virtual Six Figure Mom Podcast. I am your host, Christina Butler, HR professional, mainly in financial services, turned podcaster and career design consultant. I figured we'd spend some time today getting to know each other. So I'll tell you, I've been passionate about helping others secure employment since, let's say, my early teenage years, when I was able to actually build a solid resume by the time I graduated from high school at 16, like literal work experience that I was able to then carry with me through my college years and beyond. I actually started helping my classmates secure summer jobs and actually write their own resumes. And really, I'll say the rest was history, right? The seed was planted many years ago. So fast forward a few years to when my parents retired and moved from New York, which is where I was born and raised in the city, to Virginia. I left college and joined the Army. Whoa. Had my first child at 19, and I was in a very unhealthy relationship. So when I tell you life started happening at a young age, it really happened. And I lived way below the poverty level at that time. I was struggling. And I'll tell you, whatever the poverty level was at the time, I'm fairly certain I was well below it. And getting back on track was just really, really difficult. So this is me just being super transparent about this journey. And I share all of this because, listen, if I could do it, right? And you hear people say that often, but I truly believe if I could do it, you can as well. Um, so I really knew there was a better life waiting for me, but I didn't have necessarily a clear path to get there. I went to multiple colleges and universities because I knew a formal education was really going to be needed to pull myself up out of the struggle, but I didn't know what I was going to major in. So I ended up going to 6 different schools and having almost as many majors. I took on temp assignments, which was really a way to keep income coming in, obviously, but also to kind of test the waters with certain employers and not have the intense commitment to an employer because at that time in my life, I just really could not, right? I was just trying to figure out who I was. Um, so I needed that flexibility for sure. I ended up leaving New York City in my early 20s after realizing that, the cost of living was just too much as a single mother. And I really needed a support system. And like I mentioned, my parents had already moved to Virginia and retired. So I moved to VA, landed a job at what was First Union Securities back then. So I'm dating myself, but I worked in the back office doing a lot of operations and quickly realized that there were roles in financial services that paid a lot more, right? A whole lot more. I didn't know how to get into those roles, but I knew it was possible. I didn't see anyone who looked like me in those roles, but I figured there had to be a way, right? And that's all I needed to know. So, shout out to those who encouraged me along the way, right? That'd be my parents, right? My biggest cheerleaders from day zero. My dad, who always led me to believe that anything I wanted to do was possible. My mom, who always had a congratulations and big smile for me every time I did something different, even if she had no clue as to how it related to anything, right? Um, she was always, and to this day, congratulates me with a big smile. Like I'll tell her I landed a new client and she's like, "Oh, congratulations." And you're like, she doesn't know what in the world I'm talking about, but it's all good. And I love it. Shout out to my 75-year-old mom. My besties over the years, right? I've had a few and still have a few really good close friends I consider sisters, who have been my cheerleaders every step of the way. So if you take nothing else away from this conversation, know that I didn't get to this point in my life as a virtual six-figure mom by myself, right? It really took a village through my adulthood and even now. Um, Huge shout out to my grandmother. She has since passed, but man, like another huge cheerleader, another strong, amazing woman in my life. And as I was trying to figure things out and living in the city and have my own place, and my oldest daughter at the time was just a little one, my grandma would always just encourage me to keep going, you know? I would go to work and then go to school, and then I would go back to grandma's house to pick my daughter up. And she'd be like, "No, Chrissy, go home, go home. She's resting, or she ate. I gave her a bath. Go home." And I lived around the corner from my grandmother right before I left New York. So it was just awesome. So huge shout out to all of those people, and my daughters. Both of my daughters, I have now a 24-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they are my biggest cheerleaders, even when they are getting on my nerves. And I love them dearly, but they truly are my biggest cheerleaders. They watch everything I do and everything I don't do. So, shout out to them, because a lot of what I've done over the years has been because of them, right? Wanting to see that there's life on the other side of struggle. So, huge shout out to them. Now back to my career. Um, I wanted to make money, right? I saw others making money, and I wanted that money. I wanted that what how do you want to say it? I wanted those options, right? I was always told money can't buy happiness, but Dad wanted it buys options, and I wanted options. Okay. Remember, I was a struggling young mother, unhealthy relationship. Like, I needed the way out. And I knew in order to get that way out for me, I needed more money. And then the more money I made, the more I wanted, because beyond the options, I wanted to travel, right? I wanted to show my daughters the world, and so many things I wanted that required increased income. So I did it. Okay. I set my sights on making more money. I watched the student debt increase, right? Because I was in and out of schools, and transferring schools isn't free because you got to take this credit over and that. Like, it was madness. I bought my first house at 27. So I had a mortgage, a car payment, childcare expenses that went through the roof. And if you've ever paid for daycare, you know what I mean. Unbelievable, even back then. So I moved into a sales and relationship management role in financial services, where, like, seeing someone who looked like me, oh my gosh, what? Huh? No, didn't happen. An African American woman in sales and relationship management, I just didn't see it. And I know now that it existed, but I didn't see it. And that was just crushing. It was heartbreaking. I didn't have the mentorship I would have loved to have. And I knew I wanted to change that. So I did, right? The market crashed '08 or 9-ish or whatever. Half of our sales team was laid off. At the time, I'd already expressed an interest to my manager about moving into HR, or I should say back into HR, because many years prior to jumping into financial services with First Union, I worked for what was called the COPE program, or College Opportunity to Prepare for Employment, where I helped students at Bronx Community College secure employment. And this was a long time ago, before this fancy schmancy internet streets we have these days, right? So I was, phone booking it and picking up the phone, and really just reaching out to potential employers. So I wanted to get back into HR, right? And my focus at the time was hiring more people who looked like me and encouraging them to really pursue their career goals. Not to say I was going to avoid hiring white men. I'm just saying there were enough. So I wanted more women, I wanted more women of color. I wanted more Black women, if I'm being completely honest. And this is my podcast, so I can be honest, right? That's what I wanted. That was my motivation for getting into HR. So, fast forward to this podcast. I've taken all that I've learned as a mom who started working from home, right? 10-ish years ago, give or take. Um, and I've built this network of other moms who are going to essentially be instrumental in helping us create a community of support, right? So, support for just motherhood and balancing that with our pursuit of our professional goals. Support in terms of, even establishing those career goals, right? Because oftentimes we don't know what we want to do, right? We want to do something else. We know once upon a time maybe we were passionate about this. And we're not quite sure of how to get into that space and really flourish. So we're going to talk about all of that. And I want you to really be part of this journey with me, right? Join me, be part of the community. Really raise your hand if you have an opportunity to be a mentor or if you need mentorship or coaching and development, right? We are going to support each other as mom friends in this virtual six-figure mom community. So, what even made me think a virtual six-figure mom? It was really when I hit six figures and I was a single mother and I worked from home. And I was like, holy moly, this is possible, right? This is actually like I'm really doing this. And so I had a conversation with an amazing, amazing coach. Shout out to Amanda Miller Littlejohn. Um, Amazing coach. And just in those conversations we had, in her program, I realized that there was an opportunity for me to share all that I've learned along the way, right? Figuring out how to achieve what I call balanced success. And I know there's a lot of discussion around balance not being real or work life balance not being a thing. I really and truly believe I've created this level of balance. A lot of that is in large part due to setting boundaries. But we'll talk about that as we go along and get to know each other, and we can talk about what those boundaries look like. I know when my plate is full, and I don't allow it to get full. So again, that's a little tip there. Something to think about as we, kick off this community, which I am super, super excited about, right? So, in addition to an opportunity to work with you all, right? You all can work with each other. We are truly building a community of moms who have a desire to grow based on whatever they define as professional and personal growth, and be successful based on however they define success, right? While not sacrificing self care and wellness, right? Those are critical components. It's no fun to make six figures, seven figures if you have completely lost your mind. You really can't enjoy it. You can't enjoy it. Don't chase the corner office. Don't chase the corner office if it means you are going to lose your mind, lose your family in the process, right? Because you can't enjoy it and you don't get this time back. So here I am getting sappy and getting all into it. But like I said, I'm super excited. Let's kick off this season of podcast episodes. We've got some guests lined up. I'm so excited for you to hear some of these conversations I've been having with our fellow mom friends, our virtual six-figure mom crew. And stick with us. Certainly, the website is the best way to stay in touch. www.virtual6figuремom. All links are there. Socials, TikTok, Instagram. I'm there. Certainly, let's get connected. Let's build this community. And I look forward, really, really, and I genuinely mean this, look forward to watching every single one of us succeed. So, with that said, have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure you stay connected with the Virtual Six Figure Mom community. Hit subscribe for podcast episodes. Visit our website at www.virtual6figuremom.com and join our growing online community on Instagram and LinkedIn.